Okay guys, so the next thing we're going to go ahead and do for animation is going to be our player color change. So in a lot of these kinds of game, we have different ways to know when something happens. One way is using sound, so we hear a sound and we know that we've been hit or damaged. Another thing that we do is we also use color change to help show that the player has been damaged or is being hit. So we're going to go ahead and do this. So our code is going to specifically affect our player. So every time our enemy is touching our player, then we're going to change color to show that we've been hit or taking damage. So to do this, we're going to go ahead and go to our player sprite, and we're going to go ahead and find this specific block of code. Now, for those of you who may not had the chance to create different versions of your player and you don't have this code, then you're going to go ahead and create this block of code. So you're going to go into the yellow events tab. You're going to add when I receive green flag. You're going to go into control and add a forever and an if then. So on my right hand side is for the students that don't have extra players to swap out, and what by that I mean you have different costumes. For the students that do have it, you'll be using the left hand side. So for the students that do have this code, you're going to go ahead and add an if then else. And for the other side is also going to be an if then else. So the next thing we're going to go ahead and do is we're going to tell it every time it's touching our enemy or the shooting sprite from our enemy, since that's when we want to change color. For that, we need to go into operator and add an or, because we want to make sure that it's touching one or the other. So if you only have two enemies, then you just need one or. If you have two enemies and one of your enemy also does a shooting, then you'll just have to add one more or to it. Okay. Then we're going to go into sensing, and we're going to add a touching mouse pointer to each of these. And we're going to go ahead and change it based on what we have. So this one is going to be my first enemy, which is my alien. This one is going to be my second enemy, which is my alien 2. And then this one is going to be for my enemy shooting. So my enemy shot. So again, this is changeable based on what you have. If you only have one enemy, you just need to add one touching inside of the if then. If you have two enemies, you need at least one or. And if you have two enemies with a shooting, then you'll want to have at least two ors, one inside the other. That way you're able to have 3 spots. Once you do, you're just going to go ahead and fill your section. I'm just going to lift this up a little bit. Okay. Now, this part is going to be the same for everyone. So you're going to go into looks, and you're going to add 2 set color effects to, 1 in each bracket. And it's going to be the same thing for the students that don't have the code as well. After you've done this, the bottom one will always stay at 0. So if it's not touching it, it's going to stay its original color. If it is touching it, the top one is what you'll change the color to. So I can maybe play around with 25. I can do the same thing here. But because these 2 codes are the same thing, I'm just going to go ahead and delete this. But this is essentially what you will have. So when I play my game and I get hit, you see that I'm starting to change color. When I'm not being hit, I stay the same color. So you guys can go ahead and play around with the top set block code and continue changing the color until you find a color that you want your enemy to have. That you want your player to have when they're being damaged. That way you have another way to show the player, hey, you're not only getting damaged because you're hearing this sound, but you're also seeing the player color change as well. So you have 2 ways for your players to see when your actual player sprite is taking damage.